Long-term, permanent economic growth is within our grasp. Hi, I'm John McNeil, and this is the Invest Strong Network. Welcome. In my previous video, I brought out how for the last 2 decades or so, the government and the Federal Reserve have been constantly pumping stimulus of various sorts into the American economy in order to keep economic growth buoyant. And these rounds of stimulus, they're getting bigger and bigger, but the effect of them is getting smaller and smaller after each successive round. And that's very troublesome because this has exploded the debt, and it will eventually cause interest rates and inflation to soar. I spoke about that in numerous previous vids. But there is an answer to achieving long-term, permanent economic growth without having to constantly pump stimulus into the economy. Well, what is that? It is allowing more legal immigration. Let me tell you why. So, with every time an immigrant comes to this country, for the most part, they start off on the first rung of the socioeconomic ladder, right? Now, each time as they progress in their careers, progress in their families, progress in their lives, they move a rung or two up that socioeconomic ladder. Now, as they do so, they acquire new, larger homes, they acquire more equipment and durable goods. As their families grow, they acquire, all of the things needed for a family to grow and flourish. And all of these things are permanent benefits to the economy. And as they progress in their careers, progress financially, they become investors, and the capitalist machinery goes to work. They are taxpayers, they're investors. All of this adds to the capital growth of the country. These are all positive benefits, and they can be achieved without having to pump government stimulus into the economy. Now, what is the status of immigration currently? Well, under the Trump administration, they had a real hard clamp down on immigration of all sorts, right? Now, and for the last few years, the number of total legal immigration statuses have reached around, shall we say, 1.25 million a year. Now, that may seem like a large number, but there are certain components to that when you look at it closely, it's very disappointing. First of all, that category of reaching legal status for an immigrant, that includes those who are already currently here, right? And they have been granted legal status, along with those who have been allowed to come over and establish legal, come over legally and get established. So those we would call the new immigrants, right? So it's been about a 50-50 split between those two. And so the number of new immigrants allowed to legally come to the United States of America are only about 650,000 or so a year. That is just way, way too low to stoke organic, permanent economic growth. In a nation of roughly 330 million persons that we are, if we are going to grow the economy permanently, we're going to need about 2 million new legal immigrants per year. right? And then a gradual legalization of many of those who are already here. That would, an acceleration of that process would also be very beneficial. Now, uh, the Biden administration is headed in the right direction, right? They are headed in the right direction with their immigration policy. Now, they've received quite a bit of criticism because of the influx of young persons at the border. That's terribly unfortunate, obviously, but they'll give them some time. They'll work through that, I believe. And the Biden administration, in my opinion, looking at it from an economic standpoint, they seem to be moving in the right direction. But the question is, how what's the permanent solution to this, right? The permanent solution. Well, the permanent solution is to allow this elevated number of new legal immigrants of working age, and that's very important, right? Because we actually don't, I mean, I don't mean to sound morbid or anything, but we don't need to be taking the world's elderly and infirmed, or we want immigrants who are of working age. That way, once they come to the United States of America, they can become upwardly mobile, and that's what really benefits our economy, right? Now, it's my hope that those persons in the government, Congress, who uh, tremendously dislike the idea of additional immigration, normally for racial and political reasons, that they will rethink their approach to this when they understand the economic benefits of allowing population growth. Right now, as a nation, since 2011, roughly 10,000 people a day in the United States of America turn age 65, right? 10,000 a day. And it will go on like that through 2022. Well, we have an aging population, obviously, much more dependence on federal entitlement programs because of it, right? We really need replacement of that in the American demographic structure. And the amount of natural births is just not doing it. We need to allow more legal immigration of persons of working age. And it's just that simple. And what's amazing is, we don't have to really speculate or take guesstimations of how this would affect our nation. We have a real life living example in the late 20th century of a nation rather, that has steadfastly refused to follow this program. Let's look at Japan, right? So, Japan, for the last 30 years, has had a very rapidly aging population. Now, it was a booming economy, and you had many persons from China, from Vietnam, from the Philippines, from Cambodia, and other places that would love to have immigrated to Japan. But Japan has very onerous, very restrictive immigration laws because ethnically they wanted to keep ethnically Nippon persons basically in control of the country, right? And by doing that, they very aggressively prevented the influx of other ethnic groups. Well, what has been the effect? Well, the effect in Japan is that for the last 30 years, the government has constantly, repeatedly pumped stimulus into the economy and interfered with their financial markets to try to prop them up. And it has had a less and less a more diminishing effect after each round. Now they have like 200% debt to GDP. The population is still aging, and the economic growth is almost nil. right? We don't want that. I assure you, you Invest Strong viewer and an American person, whatever your ethnicity or race or age, you do not want that for your economy. I promise you that. And really, although the day of reckoning has arrived for Japan, it's actually going to get much worse going into the future. And we don't want that either, right? More legal immigration of persons of working age. That is what we need. And let's get to it. All right. Those are my thoughts for today. If you found this video informative, hit that thumbs up button. Please, please do it. I'd appreciate it. Also, let me know what you think. Could this plan be augmented, changed, enhanced? What are your thoughts? I'd love to know. Please let me know. And of course, subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Please subscribe to Invest Strong. Thank you so much, friends, and good blessings.